I hope you're well. I can't see anybody. Let me see. Let's make this gallery view for me. There we go. Nice to see everyone here. Hope you're all well on this. We're at the end of March. It's amazing how, for me at least, how quickly this month has gone. So I guess we better get going. Interpreter in Vietnamese interpreter says they can't hear. Does anybody else have that problem? Mylan, can you hear? Yeah, okay. What about, can you hear now? No, before we get started, I want to make sure that everybody can hear, especially the interpreters. And of course, it's saying my internet connection is unstable. Are we ready to go? Tech, whoever the tech is, Irina, are we ready to go? Are we ready to go? Can everybody hear? Can anybody hear me?
I
Okay.
hear you.
Okay. Irina, are we ready to go? Yes? Okay. Thank you. Then we will go. We'll start. I still have my allergies, so I've been sneezing all morning, so I hope everything will be okay. Not too disturbing. So let me see. Enrique, can you lead us in the prayers?
Good morning, yes.
Good morning. Thank you.
Sashi Pugji, Yushin Metok Tram, Riror Linchi Ninde, Jempadi, Sanje Shintu Mikte Ulwarji, Trokum Namdak, Shingla, Shuparsho, Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam, Nirjatayam.
Thank you. And then, so that's offering our perfect world, right? For
Right.
the teachings, just to remind everybody. And now we take refuge and make our hearts big and open and full of the wish that all beings could be free of suffering. Could you lead us in this one as well?
Refuge and the wish. Sanje Shodan Sogji Shognamla, Yonshu Bardu Dagmi Sushi, Dagji Jin Sogji Base of Namji, Drola Penshir, Sanje Drupar Shok. Sanje Shodan Sogji Shognamla, Yonshu Bardu Dagmi Sushi, Dagji Jin Sogji Base of Namji, Drola Penshir, Sanje Drupar Shok. Sanje Shodan Sogji Shognamla, Yonshu Bardu Dagmi Sushi, Dagji Jin Sogji Base of Namji, Drola Penshir, Sanje Drupar Shok.
Thank you. So I know we're still in ACI 14, developing a good heart, Lo Chong, but just in case, you know where you are today. And today we're going to, I don't know, I sometimes think I don't know which Lo Chong is my favorite, but I think this one is maybe my favorite one. And it is called The Wheel of Knives. And some of you may have been in the mixed nuts classes with Seiji Rao, who translated The Wheel of Knives. After, of course, this class was given back in the late 1990s. So Seiji and Geshe Michael translated the whole text together a few years ago. And I don't know if it's out in print yet, but anyway, you're going to have an introduction to it today if you haven't already. So the Wheel of Knives in Tibetan is called Sunche Korlo. Say Sunche Korlo. Sunche Korlo. A core or korlo or korwa. Korwa means to circle something. Korlo is a circle. And suncha is the wheel. So it's knives. Korlo is the wheel, the circle, right? So suncha is a circle of knives. And it's a kind of weapon, like any other kind of knives that are used as weapons, guns, atomic bombs, right? And many times it's been called wheel of sharp weapons, but Geshe likes wheel of sharp knives much better. The idea is described in the Vinaya Sutra that presents karma and its consequences. So I'm just relaxed and I'm going to tell you a story. And it's probably a past life of the Buddha or some holy being telling us about days when they were kind of naughty around maybe 500 BC or somewhere like that. And I want to see, okay, I want to be able to watch Kadrin here to make sure I'm not talking. Who's translator? I'm looking. Okay, give me a moment here. I see Ludmila, Natalia. Okay, I want to pin you so I can see you. Because then I know if I'm talking too fast. So around 500 BC, there is a young man who lives in a town near the sea, and his father works on a sailing ship. And his father's always going off on trips. And, it's these small ships on these huge oceans. And so this young man's mother is always getting very nervous because she never knows if he's going to come back or not. And one day his father goes out to sea and doesn't come home. He dies at sea. And his son is always asking his mother, "Hey, Mom, can I go to sea just like my dad did? And all my friends are going out to sea too." Obviously, it hasn't sunk into him that he could die at sea, that it's not maybe the adventure that he thinks it's going to be. So, he asks as he grows older, and by the time he becomes a teenager, around 18 or so, he says, "Can I go to sea? Please, Mom." You know, and his mom, she's like, your dad died at sea. I don't want you to go to sea. No, you can't. But you know how it is when we're teenagers. We want to do what we want to do. And he really wants to go, but he respects her wishes. And so he tells his friends, guys, you go ahead and go. I have to stay. My mother needs me to stay. She wants me to stay. So they carry on with their lives. And then maybe a year later or so, another group of his friends are going on a journey. And he again goes and asks his mom, "Can I go with them?" And she says, "No, no, please stay." And he's angry inside, but he says, "Okay, I'll stay. I won't go. Not this time." Another year passes. And now his last group of friends are going on a voyage. And he again asks his mother, "Can I go with them?" She says, "No." She's pleading with him, "No, please don't go." And he's really upset, and he decides not to listen to her. On the way out the door, she tries to block him, and he accidentally hits her on the head. And then he goes to sea. He runs down to the ocean, he gets on the ship, and he goes to sea. So here he is, he's floating around the world, and the boat gets shipwrecked on a desert island. He is the only person who survives. He crawls up on the shore, and there's nothing there. There's just this weird forest, and he's wandering in the dark forest. He's dying of thirst and hunger, and he just drops unconscious. When he comes to, when he wakes up, he looks up, and surrounding him are three beautiful young women in silk with beautiful hair and jewels. And they're looking down at him, and they say, "Come with us, come to our castle." And they pick him up and they carry him to their castle, and he lives in bliss for years. And then one day, he's out walking around and he gets lost in the woods again. Eventually, he runs out of food and water, and he falls unconscious again. Then the same thing happens. He wakes up, and there's these six damsels looking down at him, these six young women. "We'll take you home," they say. And he's like, "Oh, great." And they pick him up and they lead him into this castle, and he lives a life of luxury for years. Again, he goes out in the forest. Remember, this is a weird forest. And he gets lost. And he's just about to die of thirst and hunger when he comes upon a fort. There's a huge moat around the fort. There's a huge gate. And he comes to the gate, and he pushes it, and it's very rusty, so it goes, yeah. And it opens, and there's nobody there. It's all dark. There are bats flying around. It feels really evil. And he goes in, and then the door slams shut behind him. in this dark, scary place. He's terrified. He's shaking. And he looks up, and there is a parapet on the top of this fort. And he hears a door open. Like, this is all in the sutra, by the way. It's in the Kangyu. The door opens, and this guy steps out, and he's got a wheel. It's like a regular wheel, but there's no rim around the wheel. All the spokes are knives, like a whole array of knives around the spokes. And they're sharpened on both sides. And it's twirling like a helicopter blade. It's chopping at his head as they talk. And he's obviously in horrible pain. And he standing at the top of the stairs, and he starts walking down the stairs. Now, this is the best picture I could get AI to do for me. I couldn't get them to make it go here, right? It's standing up. You get the idea. So he starts to walk down the stairs, and our little sailor boy, he says, "What's going on?" And he says, "Oh, it's a horrible story. You don't want to hear it." And our sailor boy says, "No, no, tell me. I need to know. How did this thing come to be above your head? What's going on?" And the other young man said, "It's a horrible story. I was a young man. I lived by the sea. I lived with my mother. My father went to sea and he died. My friends came and tried to talk me into going to sea. I wanted to go, and I asked my mother, can I go? And she said no. I listened to her the first time, and then I listened to her the second time. And then the third time she asked me to stay. I rushed out the door and she tried to block me, and I hit her by accident on the head. And I ran down to the sea and got into a ship, and we went to this desert island and we got shipwrecked. Well, you know the rest of the story, right? I crawled up onto the beach, and then I went unconscious. Then I met all these damsels, and they took me to their castle. And then I happened again, and I met these other damsels. And our sailor guy is starting to shake. And he says, "Well, what's going on with your head?" The other young man says, "Listen, this is the karma that happened to me. I listened to her the first time. I met those first group of beautiful ladies because I listened to her the second time. I met the second group of ladies, right? And then the third time I didn't listen. And because of that, I have this thing chopping me on the head. And I came to this castle and I heard this story from another guy before. And the wheel came down off his head, down the stairs, and came onto my head. And I've been here like that since then." And our sailor friend is like, "Uh-oh." And then he goes through this transformation. He closes his eyes and he gets ready for the wheel to come to his head. He says, "I know it's going to come to my head. Let it come to my head. Let it come from that other guy. And he gets bodhicitta in that moment. And he says, I'll take it gladly. I'm going to hurt, but I'll gladly take it from the other guy. Let it come. He closes his eyes and he gets ready. And then he opens them up and it's all gone. The whole vision is gone. Right? This is the real Suncha Korla. We're going to do that more, right? So there's also a beautiful description of Suncha Korla in a secret text about this being called Bhairava, who's also called the Frightener and sometimes called Yamantaka. You may have heard of him. And in there, one of the deities has a Suncha Korlo in his hand. And it's described as a large wheel, and the spokes are made of knives, like razor blade knives, with no rim around the wheel. And there's this empty hole in the middle, like a circular saw blade with a big hole in the middle. And it has a place in the middle where you can throw it at somebody, like a boomerang or a ninja star. You know, you can hold it in your hand and you can throw it at someone. And when you throw it, it comes back to you. And this is what a Suncha Korlo is. So this story comes down to us through Dharma Rakshita. He is the Indian author who passed the Wheel of Knives teaching on. We don't know his dates, but he was a master of the Abhidharma teachings. And he also taught Jōjē. Now, who's Jōjē? Jōjē is Lord Atisha, who lived 982 to 1052. And he's the great Lama in our lineage who first brought Buddhism from India to Tibet. And the Wheel of Knives is a phrase that represents the idea that if you do something to someone else, you will get the same consequences back on yourself. It's the payback. Any good thing or any bad thing that ever happens to you was put into motion by you. So what does that mean? That means when you continue to get angry at something, at someone, for a problem that you actually created through your misdeeds in the past, it comes back to you. Getting angry at anybody, you're throwing a new Sunche Korlo into the world and it will come back to you. And you get angry at that it came back to you. And you throw a new one. That's why samsara is drawn as a circle. That's what samsara means. In Tibetan, it means vicious circle. The people who bug you are only the instruments that carry back what you have already set in motion in the past. We call them the postman, right? Those energies would also be called razor-tipped boomerang, actions that backfire on us, blowing off your own toes, hanging yourself, digging your own grave. We keep getting hit by forces that we set in motion ourselves. The problem is it looks like somebody else is doing it, but it's not true. They are the instrument of your suffering. There is no unpleasant mental or physical event in your life that we haven't set in motion ourselves. But we keep blaming others. And every time we do, we throw another boomerang. We throw another wheel of knives. And we keep samsara going by reacting in the wrong way. These are emotions. They are energies that we have set in motion, and they're just coming back to us. Even your own mind, when you're depressed and unhappy, anxiety, stress, they're all caused by our actions in the past. That's why keeping our vows is so important. That's why living an ethical life, a good life, having heart is so important. Because we can't blame all the people who bother us, right? Because we set it in motion. They are just giving us back the things that we did to others. They're only the postman. They're only the instrument. They're only carrying the result back to us that we set in motion. So we're blaming the wrong person constantly. We're blowing off our own toes. So there's another story. There's this guy, and every night he wakes up at 3 a.m. in the morning. And the moonlight is shining in through his window. And there appears to be two eyes staring at him at the end of his bed. And he thinks it's a demon, and he's scared and pulls the covers over his head. And every once in a while, when he does look at them, the eyes shift around. And then one night, he decides, I'm really tired of being scared by this demon. I mean, I'm really scared, but I'm so tired of it. I can't sleep at night. This can't go on. So he puts a shotgun next to him, and he lays down and he waits. And then the moonlight comes in, and there's these two eyes staring at him again. And he takes the shotgun and he fires at them, and he blows off his own toes. The two eyes were his own toenails shining in the moonlight. And that's what we're doing all the time. So in the text, you'll see that there are two examples given. One is a blacksmith is making a sword, and then suddenly he slips and stabs himself or kills himself on it. Another is an archer who accidentally falls on his own arrow and dies. This is what we're doing. We are setting traps that we think are going to hurt other people. And instead, we're hurting ourselves. Pretty crazy, right? We're really crazy. So the opening verses. First of all, he prostrates to the three jewels, Dharma-Rakshita, and then he changes his mind and he does a prostration to the Lord of Death. And the Lord of Death is like this terrifying tantric deity. He's like, this horrible, fanged, bloody, ugly monster. Yarmari, we call him, the Lord of Death. And Dharma Rakshita is like, he can't quite decide how he's going to write his lojong. So first, he bows down to this nice, sweet three jewels. Then he changes his mind and he bows down to this tantric, fierce monster, Lord of Death. And that's how he starts the text. Mylan, would you read the verse for us, please? All right, maybe not. Svetlana, can you read the verse?
Я практически не знаю английского, прошу прощения.
Thank you. Since I'm not in the English channel, was it read? Somebody tell me, please. Thumbs up if it was read. Okay, I'm going to read it in English.
It wasn't read, but I can do it.
Okay, peacocks wander in the midst of a forest of poison trees, a garden of healing herbs and plants may be something lovely, but peacocks have no love for them. They live off poison. So that's how Master Dharma Rakshita starts this. A Sanskrit and tradition say that peacocks only want to eat poisonous plants. And that's what gives them the beauty of their feathers. So the poison doesn't only not hurt them, they crave it. It is what they want to eat. And they can't stand what other animals would consider to be desirable. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that is the tradition. So in the same way, a bodhisattva warrior will seek out opportunities to help others, even if it's unpleasant for themselves. So the next verse says, Bodhisattva warriors are just the same. A garden of comfort and pleasures may be something lovely, but the warriors have no attachment for them. They live off a forest of pain. So bodhisattvas should be like peacocks. You know, if you were to give them a choice between going to a cafe and enjoying a latte and going to a place where all these people are dying, like to the hospital or something, and helping them, they'd much rather go to the hospital. There is no question in their minds that they would be that is why? To alleviate some of the suffering. So there's a misunderstanding that these lines mean that a bodhisattva likes to stay in this crummy, lousy desire realm. That they have compassion, which is they're on the edge of enlightenment. They're on the edge of nirvana. That they would turn back and come back to save the rest of us. It's a Dharma rumor. And it's one of the secondary vows of a bodhisattva to not think like that. What is that do for others? It's to enlighten ourselves as quickly as possible and wholly and as quickly as we can. And we can show others the path because we've done it. So this first means that applies to them. And that we avoid them. So if you do have a negative thought, use it as an opportunity to escape. It's like, look, what's the outcome of that? What am I going to get from that? From being jealous? What's happened to my body, my mind? It's going to actually kill me to get jealous. And if I keep this up over a matter of years or decades, it will actually cause the aging process to increase in me. And then you use that jealousy or that anger as an opportunity to understand your own nature and get out of this suffering life as quickly as you can. It's not like you sit there and use the anger or something like that. That's a big mistake. There's only one way to use anger, and that's to turn it on your own anger. That is the only holy, virtuous thing that you can use anger for. Otherwise, you need to stop it because it's killing you. All of your negative thoughts. So in the Abhidharma Kosha, it says, Lele Jiktin Natsoke. All the worlds come from karma. Karmic deeds cause the multitude of worlds. What is karma? It's movement of the mind. How often are our minds moving? 65 per finger snap, right? Even a few seconds of anger is very strong, bad karma. And it's not just the doing of it. Sorry to tell you this, but so it would be insane for a bodhisattva or anybody else to enjoy or utilize their anger. A bodhisattva, a budding bodhisattva, a baby bodhisattva, would work to immediately crush their anger and use that exercise to advance their practice. Thank you for getting angry at me. I can use that in my practice. A bodhisattva understands that if they were to let their anger continue, it would exclude them from paradise. And then, therefore, they couldn't help anybody. Great. I would never have known that I had this weakness if you hadn't been so irritating to me. Now I'm aware that I do still have anger. I thought I've been working on it. I thought I was done with it. But thanks a lot. You know, thank you for showing me I still have some work to do. So bodhisattvas are sworn to get to ecstasy themselves as soon as possible so they can help others. So you and the person who is angry at you, there is a strategic alliance. So thank you for showing me that. They're showing you where you need to work in your path. So in Buddhism, we're supposed to have our cake and eat it too. We're supposed to get total enlightenment, bliss in our paradise as soon as possible so we can really help other people. Then you can really be of service to others. And if you are taken bodhisattva vows, you are sworn to seek this ecstasy, this total ecstasy, as quickly as you can. You don't. You're supposed. And the closer you get to paradise, the better things start. The closer you get to paradise, the closer you get to run away from them. Money's coming at you. Good food is coming at you. Someone gives you a house to live in. Someone gives you a car. Right? This is what happens when you stop sending out the Sunche Korba. So the first half of the text is this guy watching these bad things happening to him and examining the karma of why it happened. Where did it come from? What really caused it? And in the verses, you will see there's a refrain that goes like this. It's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The how and the why of our suffering. Our suffering. How? Cause of suffering. the why. I get you. Others doesn't that near. But they like, right? Worldview of self-existence. That's the worldview that doesn't understand the why. It only understands the how. How that event happening. How is this person not relating to me because they like this other person? It's this other person's fault, right? If I could just get rid of them, then this person would like me. I wouldn't have any competition. That's the how state of mind. And you, as a Buddhist, need to let it go. You have to forget it. Buddhists need to ask the why. The how is clear. The how is that the person showed up, you got rid of them, will show up a week later. You probably know that by now, right? Every time you give somebody at work or change jobs or partners, another one comes along, unless you've cleaned your karma up. And every time you quit a job because you couldn't stand the boss becomes that way within 6 months. Stop living in the how and start figuring out the why. This should be a mantra throughout the day. Why is this happening? Why did this person show up 3 weeks ago that this person likes better than me? Because you were jealous in the past. You want it to happen again? Then don't like this other person, right? And you'll guarantee that it will happen again. That's samsara. So the natural reaction to every bad thing in our life is exactly the cause that makes it happen again in the future. That's the wheel of. That's the great irony of our suffering. We make it by reacting to our suffering that we had before. So all day long, we have to fight against this worldview of misunderstanding and self-existence. We must identify that the bad event happening to us has been created by our past actions. Again, the natural action to life is exactly the cause that happen again in the future. So why is it important to think, oh, I'm angry now because I was angry in the past at somebody. And that's why I'm the kind of person who is attracted to anger. It creates a habit. There are 4 karmic results. First 5 there are specific results for every misdeed. So let's take who's the person in your relationships to someone else expected. And lastly, the environment result. Environment which is polluted, dirty, or smells bad. So every bad deed we do, or bad. The Lama Tsongkhapa doesn't go into it in any more detail. Sunche Korlo goes karmic consequences of committing specific misdeeds. It's an incredible tool that Dharma Rakshita gives us. It gives us our karmic correlations. So, for example, the instrument, the how of someone's backache, might be vertebrae are out of place, or you pulled a muscle or something like that. The reason they have a backache is that they hurt someone in the past. So how do we go about curing a backache? We go to have a massage or the chiropractor, right? The only thing which will work to cure a backache is curing the karmic causes. If an operation works, the reason why it works is your karma to have that backache wear out, right? Suncha Korlo gives you really, really beautiful detail just about every single bad thing you can imagine. About your own mind, about our world, about the office, every bad thought you ever have. Every bad habit you have, every physical problem you have is covered is covered in this text. So if you understand these relationships, you can design your own Buddha paradise. How to own do anything about what is ripening. It's dry cement. You can't move it around. You can't reshape it. But you can plant the seeds for the future in how you respond in the present. It's like, oh, that was a horrible thing. That's horrible what's happening. This is terrible that's happening right now. I must have really messed up in the past. Let me see what it was that I did. Why is this happening now? And what do I need to do to change it for the future? So for the first 25 pages, Dharma Rakshita is saying, I did this to somebody else, so now the karma wheel is coming back to me. He makes a decision. He says, the buck, do you know, the buck stops here? It's an English idiom. Means it's not, I'm not going to continue this cycle. It's going to stop with me. I am not responding this time. I unilaterally surrender. No more response from me to these angry people. I understand where you come from. I'm putting a stop to it now. And then about halfway through, he says, wait a minute. I knew who the real demon is here. It is my mind, my own selfishness, and the fact that I don't understand emptiness. Right? And he goes into this tantric dance. He goes into this Lord of Death thing, this sweet guy, you know, saying these sweet things about taking on the suffering. And he gets furious at his own ignorance. And he says, now I know who you are. And the rest of the text is this heavy tantric thing. He turns into the Lord of Death and is dancing the dance of the Lord of Death. He has this chop knife and he is cutting his own self perishing and his own ability to understand emptiness. He takes the wheel of sharp knives and he's like, I'll use it. And the rest is very powerful. He's dancing this dance and swearing to kill. Now I'm going to use knives to murder this true enemy. He calls him the henchman of the devil. And he recognizes his true enemy, who is the henchman. One, your real enemy is your tendency to grasping to taking care of number one first before helping other people. The one who causes all this suffering sets this boomerang in motion. And it all boils down to taking care of yourself first. And that in turn can only happen if two, you don't understand where things are coming from. You don't understand emptiness. If we understood emptiness, we wouldn't act that way. So who's the guy who's going to get his skull cut open in the second half of the Lojong? It's the monster who takes care of number one first. And that monster can only exist because of another called not understanding emptiness. Misunderstanding where things in your world come from is keeping you from getting rid of the habit of self-cherishing. We can't just remove our anger, just stop our anger. We can't do that. Arya Nagarjuna said clearly, you must understand the emptiness behind all these emotions. You have to study how ignorance, how the misunderstanding of emptiness causes everything. It causes every upset in your life. Arya Nagarjuna said it's impossible for a human being to stop negative thoughts without understanding emptiness directly. Period. Impossible. So you have to learn the karmic causes. We can study sweet little mental tricks all day long about how to handle our anger. But until the day we see emptiness directly, we cannot destroy our anger. We will always have anger. So when Dharma Rakshita gets pissed off in the second half of the dojong and says, I'm tired of this cutting me. Let's see what it feels like to work on something else. Now I'm going to get to the real one. He uses it on his own self-cherishing. And it's really beautiful. He's cutting up his self-cherishing. Now you know who the henchman is. And he's showing us the path how to destroy our own self-cherishing. So in your homework, and we've got 2 pages of this, there are going to be results, and there's a column of results, and there's a column of causes. And so as you go through this text, you get to meet those up. They don't translate. Like, I find myself getting sick a lot. It's not because you've engaged in divisive talk in the past necessarily. So you have to figure out which one goes to which one. So let's see. According to the text, each unpleasant thing or event that ever happens to us is a result of what goes around comes around, right? What I put out there comes back in me. It's returning like a wheel of knives. So this list that we will have in our homework, right, will help you to figure all of those out. So it's like, sorry, if you understand why things happen in your mind, you can change them. After you understand your specific problems, the problems that you have today are coming from specific misdeeds that you committed in the past, you'll probably want to do something to fix those seeds. So this list, which is taken from the text, and this text is like An Idiot's Guide to Get Out of Samsara. It's very cool. So this is, I couldn't fit the whole list on one page for you guys. So we'll go through some of the correlations. But first, let's talk about how karma is carried in the mind stream. As you observe yourself doing some deed, your mind records it precisely, right, as imprints. You're there, you're present, you're watching yourself do this thing. It's like taking a movie. These images, bakshaks, are recorded. And they're stored in the Bakchak Sepa. These imprints are being made in your mind 65 per finger snap. Right? 65 individual separate frames are playing in your mind. And each one is making a very, very subtle impression on your mind stream as you scream at somebody. Those impressions are what we call kechiki, 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 chepachu. They themselves, I'm sorry, I'll slow down. Kechiki, 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 chepachu. They themselves are destroyed instant by instant. There's a row of flashes. They're coming in and out of existence, right, for years. They're being destroyed, and the power of the destruction of each one is perpetuating the energy. It's like the energy is being carried from moment to moment. It's like 1,000 billiard balls. You know, the first one's hitting the second one, hitting the third one, hitting the fourth one. That's the process by which the karmic energy is maintained in the mind stream over hundreds of years, thousands of years, right? One of those impressions of you that you planted there when you yelled at somebody are recorded. And from that moment on, instant by instant, they are being destroyed. The destruction is leading to the energy of the next moment, and it's being carried on throughout time. There's a stream, a steady stream of that potential in your mind stream. And that seed called karma, that karmic seed, is being carried in your mind stream. And that's how it's carried in your mind stream. It disregards the passage of time because it destroys instant by instant. And the destruction of it triggers the next one. Therefore, it can go on for thousands or millions of years. What does that mean? It means that the karma we committed 1,000,000 years ago and the karma that we committed yesterday are just as fresh as the other one. But the older ones are more powerful. They build up energy as time goes on, and these impressions in your mind stream are powerful enough that when they ripen in your mind, they force you to see certain things. Like your best friend being angry at you. Is it that they are pleasant or unpleasant from their own side? No. It's coming from you. That's proof that it's coming from you. And anyone you know can disagree, right? We can disagree whether a song is good or bad because we think it comes from its own side. Nothing in our world is good or bad from its own side. It's all coming from our karmic projections. We experience our world as being just as real as if it wasn't coming from our own mind. And at the time that karma ripens, you have no choice about it. That's the dry cement. We are forced to see things based on our past deeds. Things hurt because they are illusions and projections of our minds. They still function. And even though we can stand there and intellectually understand that it's coming from our mind, we cannot stop it in the moment. So everything is an illusion. Have you ever heard that? When Buddhists say everything is an illusion or it's coming from your own mind, in Buddhism, that's a proof for why it's real. That's a proof for why it hurts. We're not saying it's an illusion so it doesn't hurt. We're saying it hurts because it is an illusion. It hurts because it's a projection of your own mind and you can't stop it. That's how karma works. So, for example, Dharma Rakshita says, whenever I feel any pain inside of my thoughts, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. Beyond a doubt, it's the karma of upsetting other people. From now on, then, I'll take on myself the hurt that others feel. So the reason you have painful emotions, that we have painful emotions, is that we have caused others physical and psychological pain. How do we get rid of the emotional pain? Practice Tonglen. Pretend to take away their emotional pain. Can you take away their emotional pain? No. You can make your heart softer and have greater love and compassion in your heart. And that can take away someone else's pain. Janet, would you read this verse for us, please? I'll take a little break.
Whenever I suffer in the service of another whose authority is more, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of arrogance towards those who are less than me are forcing others to do my work. From now on, I'll force another. I'll force my own body and life into the service of others.
Thank you. So, secondly, the reason we suffer, say at work, from a bossy manager is because in the past we have been arrogant to those lower than us. And we don't notice it. Arrogance goes unnoticed by the arrogant. You're not aware you're arrogant until it comes back to you. Then you get a real good lesson in arrogance by this one boss, right? This boss, they have control over your salary, your vacations, what work you're going to do, your bonuses. You have to smile at them and tell them how good they look today and stuff like that. So to get rid of your bossy manager, you must force your own body and mind into the service of others and not be bossy yourself. Not be arrogant. I'm just looking for somebody else to read. Is there someone who'd like to volunteer to read? Nobody?
I can read.
Oh, thank you, Enrique.
Whenever an unpleasant word from another comes and reaches my ears, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of mistakes I've made, indifferent things I've said, divisive talk and such. From now on, then the only thing that I'll talk bad about is what I say that's wrong.
Thank you. So, why are we forced to hear unpleasant speech from others? It's that we've said bad, unpleasant things about others in the past. And then he says, well, I'll talk bad about, the only thing that I'll talk bad about is what I say that's wrong. So the antidote, he's telling us, is to only talk about our own bad speech. Okay? There's these beautiful little gems. We'll do another one. I saw Wilda had her hand raised. Would you read for us, please?
Anytime a single thing strikes me as something unpleasant, it's because the wheel of knives has turned on me again. The karma of constantly seeing my world as something less than totally pure. From now on, then, I'll devote myself to seeing things only as purity.
Thank you. So the reasons we see things as something unpleasant is because we have seen our world as something less than totally pure in the past. And the antidote is to practice seeing our world as totally pure. This practice is called namdak. In the Lam Rim, they say you try to see the silver lining in every unpleasant thing that happens to you. So rather than thinking everybody's out to hurt you, rather than having that kind of paranoia, we have an opposite kind of paranoia. You think everybody is out to help me. The whole world is full of enlightened beings who are secretly plotting to get me enlightened. Right? Any of you see, no, it's quite a long time ago now, but a movie called The Truman Show? In The Truman Show, this guy keeps waking up to the same morning because he didn't get it right the first time. And it becomes this nightmare, really. He keeps waking up, doing the same thing, and then going to bed at night and waking up again, doing the same thing over and over again. Right? That's what we do, right? And if we continue to think like that, our world seems unpleasant to us. I have an elderly friend who is totally paranoid right now that someone is coming into her apartment and taking things. And it's not happening. But she builds a story, and every day there's another story about someone having come and left this and taken that. I was at her place yesterday, and she took me to her closet. And she pulled out a white blouse and she said, "This person left this blouse here." I said, "We bought that blouse a couple of weeks ago. That's yours." She didn't remember, and she's so paranoid about it. And that's her world, and it's really, really sad. But we're like that. I think that's why we're all here, right? Okay, I need one more reader. How about Evgeny?
Yeah. Whenever I find myself without anyone to help me, no friends of my own, it's because the will of universe has turned it on again. Karma of letting away those who were low to another. From now on, then I'll never act in a
Oops, sorry.
no, yes, in a way that makes other laws than ones who are close to them. Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, Kimchi. So this is saying, if you're having a problem finding friends, keeping friends, making friends, it's because you broke other people up. So what do you do about it? Right? From now on, then I'll never act in a way that makes others lose the ones who are close to them. So these are just a sampling of the verses, so you can read the rest yourself. And you can use this class's reading to identify the karmic causes you created in the past that are messing up your life right now, right? Then you can fix your problems. You may not be creating the causes now for the future. We don't know what's in our karmic pockets. So the way to fix our old bad karma is to be extremely careful about not doing these bad deeds in the present. You may not be doing it now, but obviously you did it in the past. Otherwise, it wouldn't be showing up in your life. So say you're experiencing the karmic results of lying, but generally you're a truthful person these days. To clean up the problem, you must be the most truthful person in your town. Be very, very strict about this misdeed over a period of time. And you will watch your reality change. This careful restraint is the essence of the practice called the Four Powers, which Janet just posted in the chat. She talked about it, which is a way to purify your old bad karma. So all of this is really cool, It's teaching us the tricks to physically change our body into a body of an enlightened being, and our minds into the mind of an enlightened being. If you have mental problems like depression, low self-esteem, some kind of anxiety, stress, you get confused easily, you can't figure things out that you want, or even that your mind is not as strong as you want it to be, like me, you can't remember Tibetan words. It's all here in this text, and you can do it. You have to identify the karmic cause as it is stated in this text. You have to be perfect with the antidote. The essence of removing bad karma is to be perfect about that particular bad deed. Find out the real cause behind it and stop it. If we had served our teachers properly, we would never have to see them get old. So if we see them getting old, it's just like the boss, the guy who sees his boss being mean. Right? It's all coming from us. And that brings us to the end of class. So you have until our next class next week, you have a chance to look at all of these and start identifying the things you work, right? It's an incredible tool. So, and of course, our meditation is to do an analytical meditation each day on a different major physical or mental problem in your life, or a problem in your world. We have plenty of those, right? Or your own general situation in life. Try to find a specific verse in the Wheel of Knives that addresses this problem and contemplate the real cause of your problems and what you can do about it. Cool? Cool. So in gratitude and thanks, let's offer this world that we're going to create by going after all of these problems in our lives that we have put in motion from the past. And let's see. Nung Do, would you be able to lead us in prayers? Great, thank you. Oh.
Kinh rao anh đi nhìn bê kênh ba đi sang ghê sinh đu tê qua đi rô cun nam đa sinh la chu ba song idam guru ratna madang laka niyatayani. Kê qua tinh đi kê ngô cùng su nam lê si tốc phun sinh su nam ghê si lê chung quầy đam ba ba đốc xuân. Thank you, teacher.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Let's see the gallery of everybody. I didn't get to read what Janet said. I want to take a moment to do that. Thank you, Janet, for sharing that. Yeah, I think it's a habit that we get into multitasking and sometimes not completing things fully. So we have a lot on our plates, taking on too many projects. And we have to be careful about that so that we really are present and are able to serve each other, right? So choose your particular flavor that you're going to work on. And I do hope on our last class that we'll be able to share some of our practice that we've done during this class and what we've learned from it and how we've taken it out into the world. So you might begin, if you haven't started doing it yet, you might begin doing it and begin also keeping track of it, writing it down so you can share it with us. Because we all need inspiration from each other. Right. All righty. Have a good weekend. I know it's only Thursday, but have a good weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Спасибо.